Okay, welcome everybody to this evening's ACY Securities webinar. My name is Duncan Cooper. Tonight's webinar is live forex market review. And as you wishing me a happy holiday, well, still got the webinar to do yet. Don't go away, actually, don't go away until Sunday, but I won't be here next week. All right, for those in the webinar, if you can read through the disclaimer. If you're on our YouTube live stream, I cannot see the chat, but I've given you the link so you can join us. So everybody, can you please read through the disclaimer? And as well, any questions to the chat box or question and answer box. Hopefully this evening, I don't have any technical difficulties and have to reboot. That's been the first time in, I don't know, 2 and 3/4 years. So I guess it's not a bad percentage. All right, let's move along. And if you don't know me, my name is Duncan Cooper. I'm a senior market strategist and trading mentor here at ACY Securities. And I'm a full-time forex trader. I've been trading now for more than 15 years and mentoring for more than 10. If you want to contact me, my email is there, duncan.cooper@acy.com. Through the week, you can connect with us at our website, acy.com, go to the market news tab, or our YouTube channel, ACY Securities Australia. And then on Twitter, I don't know if everybody calls it Twitter now or X, but I don't know, X seems rather a funny name. So you can connect with me on Twitter or X or LinkedIn on my handles there if you want to connect with me through the week. And if you want to connect with us in the Telegram channel, just contact Nathan to get access. And as well, contact Nathan if you want to get access to my chart layouts and templates. So I'll put his details in the chat. Any questions, he'll be able to answer anything for you. There we go. All right, so let's get into what's going on at the moment. Let's have a look at the news. The time shown on my news list here are Queensland time. All right, so coming up at 7:30, we've got the UK or the Gbp, flash manufacturing PMI and flash service PMI data. We've had some Eurozone data coming out, which has been a bit mixed, slightly down for the French, slightly up for the German, slightly up for the Euro, what they call the Euro, no necessary country, but the whole zone. So I'm guessing there, on the average, it's pretty much coming on print over the 3 sets of data there. So we've got the UK manufacturing data coming out half an hour-ish or so. And the US doesn't come out until 12:45 Saturday morning. All right, that's the news events for the week. Quite a light week this week for news, so let's get to the charts. Now, we're having a pullback. Monthly chart here on the dollar index we're looking at first of all. Lost some of the data that I was putting on my charts the other day when I had to reboot, so I will just make them back up how I was talking on Tuesday and then update from there. All right, so back to the monthly chart. We may be pulling back to the 62% level of the monthly range. We have a higher top and we're just having maybe a corrective pullback within the last move up, plus 3.5, kind of four-ish months of movement up, which is making the weekly chart down at the moment and the day chart down. We could be getting some support from this weekly high here because we are now above it, 103.65. Be interesting to see how the week finishes. If we have a weekly reversal candle, that may be a signal that we're getting support on that level. Then next week we may be looking for the dollar to go up. We'll have to wait and see. All right, but at the moment, day chart's having a couple of days of correction, but we're not seeing any major reversal back to the upside as of yet. All right, S&P 500 keeps on keeping on. I think it's going to come up and test this high for sure. All right. It is pretty much long in the tooth though, that move. I wouldn't want to be buying at the top of the move. So I would need to see a dip if you wanted to buy the uptrend. So the current day chart swing range is from this low to high. So if I was wanting to get into maybe a long position, I would need to see this pull back to the 62 to 79% zone of that day chart upward range that's been forming. All right, so we know we're at the top of a 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 day move. It's not the best place to be buyer. If we can have a corrective rally and we can put in another higher bottom, can that form in between the 62 and 79% area and support here at 43.96? That's this weekly high here. Then, this could be the area to watch for over the next week or two. All right, let's get into the euro dollar. Now, we could be, I just want to go to my other charts and bring my MACD up. If we hit a significant level on the day chart, while that's coming out, let's go back to this chart. I did have a fib drawn across here on Tuesday before I had to reboot. And we've hit the 62% level of the major range that's been forming. So I just want to go to the day chart of the euro dollar and see what the MACD is telling us. Not crossing down yet. I just want to see what the 4-hour charts. 4-hour charts showing some divergence as we're putting this topping up here. So that could be a final top, because what we're doing here is false breaking this area, and today's high is targeting that area. So it's been up to 109.29 today, and it's just starting to withdraw a little bit. All right, and it's just putting a bit of a 4-hour rejection candle in at the moment. So if we look at this range, this range that we're moving up within, 62% level there's that daily chart resistance from over here, 62% level of the range that we've met on Tuesday. Are we putting in a top of significance up here? All right, so just want to make sure I've got all the data on there. There's no trend line break to look for at the moment. At the moment, it's a question of do you want to make a decision and sell and put your stop just above the high, because we are failing at the day chart resistance. We're at just a 1-hour chart, we're failing at the 62% level of the range. You've got all these 1-hour highs to the left. So are we today trading down this way? Okay. Or you can just monitor it and see if you can get some entry on a trend line break or something in this area to maybe confirm that this is moving down from that area. Okay, so trading up on a retest or very close to 109.29 would be the go, I think, if it can offer you that. All right, euro yen. It's back above. Just need to double check, because back above this high at the moment, this major monthly high at 162.42. All right, and we've just had a week down, only just. And the day chart's putting in a higher bottom here. So at the moment, all things are still in an uptrend on the euro dollar. So at the moment, you can see today, and you can see yesterday, see how we rejected and held above 162.42, and the next candle was almost on top of that level. And then this area is on top of that level. If we can get another pullback to 162.42, that's where support's been shown. You can see it's around the central pivot point area of the day. So this is the area to watch for support. If you're not already in, it's been support already today. Can it be support once more for the day, or close to? That's where your support's coming in at the moment. Excuse me one moment. All right, now, if we see another move below 162.42 today, and we close below there today, tomorrow we'll look at 162.42 to be resistance. But at the moment, this area is offering you the support area. So I would be watching that area. I mean, today you could be, this is the movement of the day at the moment. You could be monitoring that range being formed today. You could be looking at the 79% level, stop below the low, and seeing whether the market will offer you a move up like so. All right. Or price may come down and actually retest this area once more. So you can monitor price actions as it start to hold here. Do you get a 15-minute rejection? Or do we come down and get a 15-minute rejection? You can look to see how price gets support or not in this area on a pullback. All right, euro pound. It's right at monthly resistance at the moment. This line to the monthly charts is this high over here. And that's that high over there. There's lots of weekly lows that were forming there before we broke below. So it is still theoretically an uptrend on the weekly chart. And theoretically, it's still just holding to an uptrend on the day chart. It hasn't broken a low. But it's a struggle at 87.21. And as I was saying the other day, the level it's really been struggling at, if you can get up back up there, is up here at 87.53. So I don't really trade the euro pound unless I see something that's really exciting, because it can get rather range bound. So I tend to look at the outskirts. Outskirts is up here at the moment. I wouldn't want to trade into monthly resistance and go, okay, I'm going to buy. But the outskirts where we're failing is up here at 87.53 up to last week's high at 87.65. So if price was to be able to get up there, I would expect selling pressure to come back in there. It's last month's high up there too. All right, pound dollar. And I had a fib drawn across there. And as I was saying on Tuesday, the movement up here, excuse me a moment. So this movement up the range, like I was discussing on the euro dollar, it's not being as high, it's not being as aggressive as the euro dollar. It's coming into this area of resistance here, 125.47. Is an uptrend on the day chart, and on the weekly chart. So the bias is to the upside, but the more that we're getting up to say the 62% level, maybe over the next week, lots of highs to the left here. This could be where maybe the pound wants to top out if it can get up that high. So at the moment, it's holding to its trend on daily. On the 4 hour though, it is showing you a downtrend. So maybe back to the day chart, maybe we may have another day down here at the moment. Really, and yesterday we hit 124.48, which is the monthly area. I'm going to the weekly chart, but it's this monthly area over here, monthly resistance area over here. Well, we closed just above that last week. We traded down to it yesterday and held. So that area is offering some support at the moment. So that's the key area to watch. If we close below that level, I would anticipate we're moving back down the range. So you can see yesterday we came down to that level. But at the moment, on the 4 hour, we are in a downtrend, and we may well be failing up here at the 79% level. Now at 7:30, we have the UK news coming out. So with that 4 hour being down at the moment, and maybe we are struggling to hold gains above last week's high, if we get a spike up when the news comes to 79% level once more, that could be a very nice area to watch for short. Yesterday we had a day down. You see we were 1 pip short of monthly support. We've retraced back up to 79%. Well, is that my 4-hour high? Yeah. That's the 4-hour high. It's not quite the high of yesterday. Yesterday's high is just there. So the 79% level may move 1 or 2 pips, but that's good enough. Can the news drive back up to 125.26? And then want to hold there. So what's happened with that move up today is coming. Any imbalance that got formed here yesterday has been filled. All right. So when you have this kind of consolidation price action, and then we drop, we'll come back to the area where the consolidation was and fill the imbalance. So that's what we've done here. See these highs through here. That's where we've stopped. So 7:30, do we get back up at 125.26? I've got a whole flock of birds flying over my house. All right, so my thoughts on the pound like so. Pound yen. This is how I had it drawn in Tuesday. This was one area that I was watching for support where, of course, their support's got in. Now, if the pound dollar is going to maybe go back down and test monthly support, we could put a lower top in on pound yen here. But once more retesting this weekly high. In fact, it's probably a monthly high. Yeah, monthly high. So this monthly high here where we moved above last week and moved below, we're actually testing it today. And are we going to test it and hold? So that movement down, we've actually had a week down this week. We're at the 62% level. And we're at that monthly resistance level. So it'd be nice to see maybe a 4-hour chart rejection up here, but you could watch it on a 15-minute chart. Can you get a good close below the trend line? Not had a close below the trend line yet, but you know, are we holding up there? You can see we've held there. We've moved above the level of resistance, but we're starting to hold at the 187 level once, bit short twice, fraction short third time. All right, so the market's watching up here. Now, we could be fading up here. Can we see a trigger to trade back down? On the day chart here, we could be holding at this monthly area and starting to form a lower top at the 62 level to trade down at the moment. Major supports here on the weekly high over here at the moment. All right, so are we going to see a fair up there? You can monitor that. Aussie yen, it's moved back above one monthly area of resistance where it faulted at last week. And the second one is here. So there's this one here that we're back above. This one here we failed at last week. By the end of last week, we closed below both of those levels. So what's happening at the moment, if we go to the weekly chart, we're just trading back up inside last week's rejection. So what you have to make a decision on is, do you think we're holding up here to trade down? Are we going to form a major double top at this level, or has it just been a reaction and moving above? Now, nobody knows if it's a reaction or not. We could have a look and see if there's any kind of divergence showing. Maybe a bit of divergence when we came up there on the 4-hour chart, because these are kind of equal where prices, in fact, that's fractionally lower just. So there's a little bit of divergence going on when this high came in. So we could move to the 4-hour chart on my plain charts, monitor for a 79% rally. And then can we hold up here, fail to move back down? So that's the area to watch, 98.20 up there, up to 98.43. So I'll just highlight the whole area. You know, was that a final failure last week at last year's high? All right, so monitor up there. Aussie dollar. It's not doing too much at the moment. Just whilst we've made a new high Tuesday after Monday, we've fallen back down. We are getting support though. I said this in my weekend analysis that I put out on my Twitter, that if we break above 65.11 to 65.22, watch that to be support. So it was support yesterday, 65.22, you can see it. So this area got broken above, became support for whatever move it's doing at the moment. All right. Now, if you're with me with the 4-hour entry last night, your rejection off that level of support, your entry was the break of that inside day candle there. All right. If you're with me yesterday, stop below there. All right, I just actually want to look at what MACD's doing on this pair, because it's in an uptrend. Bit of divergence on the 4-hour. See these 4-hour candles? Let me go to my other charts, because all these wicks up here, we're at halfway point of this range, and we've been fractionally short of this kind of strong area of support that was before it broke. So if you wanted to get, if I was going to get long here, I would need to get long close to 65.22, because up in this area could be where we could top out. Because on the 4-hour chart, all these wicks here. So if I just draw an area in where all these wicks were forming, see that rally there only came to where all these wicks were. See that rally there only came to where all the wicks are. See how we're rejecting the same area, the horizontal area across those wicks. All right, so I don't really like what I'm seeing there in terms of price action, because it's telling me there that the sellers are in that area where the wicks are. All right. And we're in a bit of a narrow band at the moment between last week's high and 65.84. So I don't have to trade a pair. And really, from the buy side, anywhere near 65.22 is your support area down here at the moment. Other than that, I think I would just be waiting to see what evolves, because we could be topping out up here. We've just touched the 79% of this little sideways price action range here at the moment. So you can make a decision yourself. I don't know what's going on there at the moment. I would like there to be more in between support and resistance at the moment, and there's not. So I will have to monitor that pair. All right, let's get into the New Zealand yen. All right, so it looks like from the day chart perspective, we've gotten support at 79% retracements. And we're starting to move back above this high here and this high over here, which are monthly highs. So at the moment, it's holding its uptrend. So all things lead to the upside at the moment. Really, to get long on this pair, you want to look for a 4-hour dip at the moment. So let me just get rid of this across here. The last dip was that low just there. So you really need to monitor this range. If it keeps moving up, keep dragging your fib up and look for a pullback. The fact that we moved above this monthly high, 90.19, you really want to see that high now hold as support. So you really want to see this come up so that you maybe have a 62% level overlapping on top of that level of support. So we get a further move up, maybe we get a pull back to the 62 level and we can look at this area to offer support to trade up. So it would need, this pair is going to need to do some work to obviously offer that. But at the moment, you need a monitor for a pullback because that's a little bit overextended on the 4-hour chart there. All right. New Zealand dollar. And as though you still short New Zealand dollar from that high, 60.45, I think you said it was from memory. So it's either 60.45 or 60.54, one of the two. All right, so of course you can see the last 2 days we've been rejecting at this high, 60.55. We've got a little bit more rejection on the current candle today. That's moved down to a lower bottom on the 4-hour chart, and there we've just got a 79% retracement pattern there. So this looks like maybe it is starting to form a price action reversal at that 60.55 level. You could wait for the 4-hour candle to finish, which will finish in about 33 minutes, and then you could trade the break of that candle if you wanted to for a trigger. All right, but it looks like maybe we are, you know, we've tried to move above the resistance level. It's dropped down to a lower bottom on the 4-hour chart, and then are we putting in a lower top to trade down? Let's just have a look at MACD. Four-hour chart showing you negative divergence. So some of these pairs from the highs formed on Wednesday, or sorry, Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day it was, that high there. Seeing some divergence on a number of pairs on the 4-hour charts. So, and I can see you thanking me there, Azu, but I don't know if it's going to top out there. But it does look like a reversal. So we'll just have to wait and see how it unfolds. All right, dollar Canadian. Now, still in this area of day support, 133.60. 136.60, and I just want to know where. Let me just go to the day. We're on the day chart here. Sorry, I thought it was on the 4-hour chart for some reason. So the day chart, I just wanted to see where the highs of the week were. I wasn't sure whether they were on the 4-hour chart here and this was the high of the week, but now that I've got my head together. So day chart here, it's actually getting even more range bound than it was last week. Last week, it was able to get up to these highs. Now, you know, the ranges are getting smaller. So if I just highlight the range, you know, we've had a range here last week. The week before, the range was here. And now the range is getting even. That's this week's. That wasn't quite last. That was last week's range. But you get the picture. The ranges have been getting smaller week by week, but we're not going anywhere. So it's not the best pair to trade at the moment. If you want to trade this, support is down here at 136.60 at the moment. And that's the nearest level of support or resistance that the market's at. So, and we've actually touched it today. So I don't know whether the market can come back down to that level, not today, but really, you may see a 4-hour reversal here on day support to trade back up to this area. $137.85 down to $137.65. So are we seeing a reversal here? 15-minute chart. It's already showing you higher bottom, higher top. It's already offered you a trend line break, swing point break. So might come back down for another test of 136.60 through the day, offer you more support for an opportunity to trade, okay? Very range bound, but maybe it's at the bottom of the range. Trading back up to the top of the range here. Okay, so you can monitor that. All right, dollar franc. Not being able to get up to the area that I was discussing on Tuesday. But that would still be the area that I would watch at the moment. We're in a downtrend on the monthly chart, the weekly chart, and the day chart. So this area of old support, I would watch that area to rally back to if the market can offer it. Bit choppy at the moment here on the 4-hour chart. All right, it is holding the downtrend, but it'd be nice if it could come up to a higher price if you want to be a seller on this pair. Then resistance is at 89.01, so the 8900 level. If price can get back to there, that's last month's low at 88.87. So the area that I'm drawing in there, 88.87 up to 89.01. That's where I'll be watching if I want to trade that pair to the downside. I don't want, the more I can get you guys and girls not to be trading at the bottom of a move, because when price is at the bottom of a move and you just get in, there's a very high chance it's just going to pull back. So where would the logical area be to be resistance that you could start to manufacture a short? This area here, 88.87 up to 89.01. All right. Dollar yen. Now that's how I drew it on Tuesday. Can we come up to 150.15? So if the Aussie yen can get up to retest the last year's high, this may get up to that area. I'll have to wait and see. 4-hour chart, just putting in a higher bottom here and another higher bottom here at the moment. So that is the area that I would be watching. 150.08 to 150.15. If we can get driven up there. And if you weren't with me on Tuesday, it's worth understanding just from the day chart perspective that we've moved down to a lower bottom now. From a weekly chart, we failed at last year's high for fraction short, a couple of pips. We've actually changed the weekly trend to down. The day trend has turned down. So really we're looking for a lower top to form, and I'm watching this area here. I'm going to be on holiday, so I'm not going to be trading. So when I say I'm watching the area, I'm watching the area, but I don't think I'm going to be trading because I'm going to be on holiday and I won't want to be worrying about what's my trade doing when I'm on the beach or at the pool. So watching up there, 150.08 to 150.15. All right, let's have a look at gold. Four-hour chart's turning down here. So today's chart is quite clearly this area where after the war starting in Israel, and then we topped out up here, this area up here is quite clearly a very difficult area. Last 2 days, we've been rejecting up there. I don't know whether anybody's got onto gold, but I don't personally trade gold. At the moment, yesterday, we are just managing to hold above this weekly high area over here. If you go to your weekly chart, it's this area here. So that's the line in the sand at the moment for the buyers and the sellers, or for the buyers, I should say. We moved to the 4-hour chart. We've come down and hit it today, but we are bottom, lower top, lower bottom. Potentially, we might be just putting another lower top here to actually move below that level. We've had a 62% retracement within, a point. So it looks like we may be having a day down today. And drop down to the 15-minute. The 15-minute price action is showing you that we are starting to break this area of support to the downside. So through the day, if we are failed up here already at the 62 level, breaking this down on a lower time frame, this wherever we move down to at the moment, you could look for a little rally within this time frame. Up to 62 to 79. 79 would be good because you get a little miniature head and shoulder pattern here on the 15-minute chart, maybe. So that's around about 1997. So clearly today we're struggling at wanting to get to the 2000 level, struggling around 190, 1997.98. So you could look for a low to come in and a rally on an intraday chart there if you like gold. Or let's just head back to pound and see. Oh, so let's just have a look at the news. Right, so manufacturing data's come in positive. Flush manufacturing 46.7, 50.5. So anything above 50 is expansion. So that's now showing expansion rather than the opposite. What's the expansion or detraction? What's the opposite to that word? It's expanding now rather than contracting. That's the word. Okay. So back to the pound dollar chart. So the area of resistance here is at 125.47. You could be waiting for 15 minutes. If we don't close above that level, 125.47, it was resistance yesterday. There's yesterday's high. Let's just have a look at the whole range. Well, we've actually moved above there, so there's no fib to draw across this range because we've traded above the high. But your day chart resistance where we've been holding this week, 125.47. You could watch that level if you were looking for a short. This isn't where I would go along. I wouldn't go along into this resistance here. You know, see how it's rejecting? You could be selling now, stop above the current high if you thought there was downside potential. Or you could wait a few more 15-minute candles to see. So you could wait for a few more 15-minute candles. So when we're dealing with a news candle like that, we've got a gap down here from the reaction. That will often get filled. So you can start to, you know, we're already, as I said, if you sold at 125.47, you're already up. Is you could watch the next 15-minute candles and see whether they come back up for a retest. Do they start to show that it wants to hold here? And then you could be selling here, stop above the high. That's the way that you can start to trade candles from the news. Steve, you're asking me, dollar yen 4-hour chart. I drew the fib from the high at 151.42, thinking price was rejecting the 62 level. Do you always use the last week high when drawing a fib? No, I don't always. It just depends how I'm looking at price action. So I don't know what you were drawing it from, 151.42. Well, if I'm on the date, so what I'm doing really, it's not a question of it. That was last week's high, okay? But what I'm doing is I'm simply looking at the range. The range on the day chart is that top to that bottom. That's why I'm drawing it across that range. All right. That's why I'm using that significant high from the day chart down to that. That just happens to be that is last week's high. Okay. So I tend to go, if I've got a range like this, I'll go from the highest point to the lowest point. I don't use this high or this high. I could use that range from that high to that low because that was the last lower top to lower bottom before this move up. So I could use that range. I don't tend to use that, or I would go up to that range. So I'm using the whole range. Okay. Hopefully that answered your question or makes sense. Azu, how do I project the highs and lows? What do you mean? Back to the pound. Do you mean these things? on my charts? Is that what you're talking about? Just wait for you to answer me. All right, well, if that's what you're talking about, this is an indicator that plots on my charts, on my 50-minute charts. So that's how I get the projection. I don't do anything. I have an indicator that does it. Basically, what it does is it calculates the high to low range of the last 5 candles from the day chart and divides it by 5 and comes up with the range. But that indicator does it on its own. I don't personally do it. The calculation, I have an indicator that works it out and gives me the average range for the last 5 days. And then as price is moving to and fro intraday, this will adjust and works out where the potential low of the day is and the potential high of the day can come in. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. So if you want to get it, my charts are MT4 charts. Just download a demo account for MT4, get Nathan to give you the indicator or my chart layouts and templates, and then you can use my charts. Right, Steve, cheers. Thanks for your answer. All right, we might just have a look at the Eurodollar. So the Eurodollar may come back up here. It's just, see where last week's high is. The 4-hour chart. That's last week's high here. Yesterday, that's why it's good to have my charts, because last week's high is important. When we move back below it yesterday, all these 4-hour candles, maybe in the day before, but whenever we move back below, whether it was Tuesday or Wednesday, all these 4-hour candles, once we move below and close below, see the wicks were rejecting last week's high, and today we don't want to hold above last week's high. So last week's high today and tomorrow may become a very strong resistance level to trade down from. All right, you can see here today, whilst we had a spike up on the news, like the pound's just done when the Eurozone flash manufacturing data came out and spike up, but now it is struggling at last week's high. All right, so we're just dealing above the 125.47 level at the moment on the pound. So we have to understand, this indicator today is predicted high and low, for those that don't know it. It's potentially telling you where the candle of today is going to fall based on the day chart. So we've almost maybe done the range of the day for the candle. So the more we get up to here in this area, the more we're getting to the top of the day. And we just had a very impulsive, stretchy candle, which has probably been traded very thinly to get up to that very high level. So if we were to get back up into this projected high, and it's just fell short of M4 125.69, the pivot, this would be a good selling level today up here, because it's very high up there for the day on a very impulsive stretched candle, which seemingly at the moment, it's not closed up here and then followed further on. It's had one spike up. If you drop it to the 5-minute chart, it is starting to just maybe on the 5-minute chart, show resistance here. So on the 5-minute chart, you can start to watch this area, which is approximately the 25.53 area. If it starts to not want to, if it trades above and then gets back below, that area is being watched at the moment. Now is the high intraday on the 5-minute chart. All right, so at the moment, you know, if we can get close below 125.47, maybe we're going to trade back down. At the moment, we're just on that candle, the market's saying we are wanting to hold above yesterday's high. So I wouldn't want to be short if we're holding above yesterday's high. But if we close back below 125.47 on a 15-minute chart, then I would start to think, okay, is 125.47 going to hold now to trade down? Because we have an imbalance here. Go to the 5-minute chart. There's an imbalance at the moment. The whole area there, in fact, the whole area to the actual close of that candle. This area could well get filled through the trading day. You can see how the last two 5-minute candles are holding at that level. I said, what was it, 125.53, and this current 5-minute candle, which is going to finish 3 minutes, doesn't want to stay up there. All right, so you can monitor that, see whether we can get a close back below 125.47. All right, any final questions before I wind it up? So I'll just wait for any more questions to come in. So from me, I'm going to be away next week, so I won't be back on board until December the 5th will be my next webinar. If you want to join me, same time as normal, just head over to the webinar page and register your interest. Other than that, I'm just going to wait to see where this candle closes on the 5 minutes, and then we'll wind things up. What's the Aussie doing? Could be failing up there. That's 79% level at Aussie. It's already on the 50-minute chart, starting to show you a lower top, lower bottom. It's not wanting to hold above today. Not wanting to hold above yesterday's high. So yesterday's high is at 65.69. So that's the area to watch today on the Aussie, 65.69. Not wanting to hold up there. All right. I'm going to wrap things up there. We've got about a minute to go on that 5-minute candle, but it doesn't look like it's going to close below 25.47. So at the moment, watch this. I don't like to get too deep into the 5-minute chart. I just wanted to show you what was going on after the news so you could start to interpret price action. But really what I do is I look to see if the 50-minute candle can, at the moment, it's looking like it's holding above 125.47. And as the 5-minute candles just finished, you can see there, it's coming back up to retest the highs of those 5 minutes, just here. So if we can get close below that level, then maybe it will offer you a short for the day, back down. Getting very high up there in today's range. So, getting long up there at the moment, you're very high up in the day. And so, you're watching the pullback for the Aussie to the 63.90 level to fill 63.90 to 64.52 before it advanced above 66. You think it's gone above 66? I don't know. 62% levels at 66.58. So, I mean, yeah, it could get to 66. Sometimes, whilst I don't like to trade at the 50% level, sometimes on the Aussie dollar and the pound dollar, the 50% point on the fib tool calls the market. All right. Because the pound dollar, let me get rid of my intraday markings. Whilst I normally look at the 62 and the 79, pound dollar and the Aussie dollar can hold at times at the 50. So we're a fraction short of the 50 on the pound, and on the Aussie, we've been to the 50. And as we've been to the 50, as I was saying before, we do have these wicks up here, which I don't like. But yeah, we could get to 66 if we're going to the 62% level. I don't know if it's going to go to 63.90. You think it's going to go... Oh, so you were watching for a pullback to 63.90 to fill. 64.52 before it advanced. So are you still waiting for a pullback to 63.90? Or is that now dead? I don't know. I don't think it's going to go to 63.90, then back up to 66. I think at the moment it's either going to go up to 66 or we're going to top out here personally. We'll see what happens over the next week while I'm away. All right. I'm going to wind things up there. So thanks for all the questions. And with that in mind, I think I'm going to leave it at that and bid you all a good week's trading next week while I'm away. And I look forward to seeing you next time.